PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. Here we go again. Outdoor education from home and school with our special guest, Shaun Hawke of the Los Angeles County Outdoor Science School. Welcome to the PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast for educators by educators that love to equip teachers, ponder, and discuss current issues and climate in education. With your hosts, Dan Hopman and Steve Stuckey.
Welcome to the EdTech Podcast. We are looking at our Season 2, which is just crazy to me. In fact, we're even talking about a second season.
I can't believe they actually renewed our contracts.
I don't think they had a choice. When we left here in May, in our last podcast, I never thought that we would still be back here. I know we kept saying, expect the worst, plan for the worst, expect better. But I don't think that ever happened.
It didn't get better.
No, it didn't. In fact, it just kind of stayed the same. So we have a great show today, but 3 months have passed since we've been together. It seems like everything started up yesterday. What thoughts do you have on where we are now and what's been happening over the last few weeks?
Well, like the band Whitesnake sang, here we go again. And I'm not talking about just another podcast, but another round of distance learning and teaching. For many, and I know in my household, having a teacher, it feels like, we've already gone 15 brutal rounds and we have to answer the bell yet again for another round. You might feel like Rocky Balboa at the end of the big fight, battered and bruised, but in this round, the stakes even seem higher. The demands have become greater. And all the while, teachers, students, parents are running out of stamina quickly. The levels and effects of the stress people are feeling are real. I'm getting those in the phone calls. I'm getting those in the Zoom meetings. People are tired. People are tired of being alone because Zoom meetings don't constitute the same interactions that we're used to. I was happy. I went out to a school site today, and it was nice to talk to real people. Anxiety is weighing a lot of people down, and that anxiety freezes people up from being able to perform. So if anything, any listeners out there during this time who are remote teaching, I want to encourage you to be strong and courageous. Understand that you, teachers, are a part of thousands of others experiencing the exact same thing. You are not alone in this let me try that again. You are not alone in these struggles, and these struggles are real. If you're a perfectionist, you're really going to struggle with distance learning. I mean, it's great to have high expectations, but nobody can expect to be great and masterful in everything without putting in time and training. We ask our students to set goals, but yet we don't set reasonable, smaller goals for ourselves. We just want to jump right in and expect to have it all perfect. One must dig a little deeper. If you are worried that you are failing the kids, understand that you are not failing them unless you have just not shown up for the fight at all. Do something small. Celebrate those successes. You have no control over a student's lousy internet or anything else that's going on outside of those controls that you have. Only control what you can control. And let those things that seem like a failure go away. You're going to feel pressure, and a lot of that pressure may be self-imposed. It might be colleague imposed. It could be administration or district imposed, parent imposed. Some of those things that are imposed on you, they're going to be important. Some we might think are just ridiculous. Above all, do your best. You probably won't be perfect. Don't expect your colleagues and students to be perfect either. We are all exhausted. I get it. You now have to add, tech problem solver to your job description on top of everything else. And it seems to fill up an already overloaded plate. So think about small victories. Again, I want to remind you, be strong and courageous. You are not alone. Do not fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others that have this tech thing together. But don't stop learning. Don't stop applying new skills in this new digital realm. Your students will get to see your vulnerable side, and they're going to learn that learning is constant and it's never finished. And you're going to be the one leading the way. It is with great hope that this current situation will change and you can get back in the classroom. And that day will be awesome. It'll be a great celebration. But until that day, stay in the fight. The opponent is strong. It hits hard and knows how to get under your skin. You got to keep punching, keep learning, and watch out for that left hook. Take care of yourself. Do your best to block out the bad and let in the good. You are essential. Geez, we've got a phone call right in the middle of that, huh?
See, I thought that was the bell saying that the teachers had knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, that was the bell to get back into the ring and try another round. And so as we're trying to shake off the rust on this podcast, there's no doubt about that. I think it's time to probably bring in an old friend.
That this person knows the influence she had on me over the last X amount of years that she'll tell us about. So it'd be very interesting having this type of talk. So I'm very excited to have her here with us.
Yeah, she's been in education quite a long time, but as far as the impact, I do remember that she says I remind her of her brother. And so we are talking about the director of the Outdoor Science School, Los Angeles County Outdoor Science School, Shaun Hawke. She has been teaching and leading in outdoor science education for 3 decades. Most of that time at the Los Angeles County Outdoor Science School. She is always excited about teaching with inquiry and did her master's research on comparing student exploration of phenomenon in the classroom versus in natural ecosystems. Let's welcome Shaun Hawke. And I don't even remember where the applause one is. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, that's a laugh track. We'll have to try this one. There we go. Shaun Hawke is in the house. Maybe we'll do the laugh track at the end, Shaun. How are you doing?
Okay.
Anything in that rant ring true to you?
I feel like a minefield. The whole thing has been such a journey for us all.
A lot of times I feel like we're just sort of doing the dance, and if we're told if we stop dancing, we get shot. We're always trying to. It just seems like we got to keep moving.
Yeah, I know. I think people need to figure out how to take a breath again, and it's really interesting having you in dealing with outdoor education because people are locked up inside. And I miss being outside. I miss being up in the mountains, down at the beach, those kind of things. So it's really going to be neat to hear from your perspective. But to get started then, Dan, I think you might have a question for her.
I do. And before I get there, so I don't know if Shaun knows this. I can't remember if we've had this discussion, but, probably in her first or second year with the LA County Office of Education with Outdoor Science School, she was my naturalist when I was in 6th grade. And then on top of that, I was her cabin leader on trail group. And so it was a very big piece of me becoming a teacher was spending a week probably at least 6 or 7 times with this young lady because she made learning fun and interesting for kids. And so, Shaun, my first question for you is, because outdoor school had a huge impression on me, tell us a little bit about what LA County Outdoor Science School really is.
Well, I didn't know that about you, Dan. I remember you were a cabin leader. I didn't remember that you were a student. That's wonderful. The Los Angeles County Outdoor Science School, we sometimes call it LACOSS, it's 60 years old this year. It's our 60th anniversary. We help school districts have an outdoor field experience for their 5th or 6th grade students. Sometimes 4th, sometimes 7th or 8th. The program is usually 4 or 5 day overnight science field study where students come to the LACOSS site with their school. They can experience the natural phenomena in an ecosystem context. So they get to experience all that beauty and wonder in nature while getting to explore the wealth of phenomena that you find in an ecosystem. We do genuine science by making observations, formulating questions, and developing explanations like you do in the classroom. And we have an amazingly fun time in the process.
So yeah, we know right now that it's not up and running, that, you know, schools aren't coming to outdoor science school.
Correct.
But in a perfect world, and we get to restart this up here soon, how many sites are we looking at?
Right now, they're well, when we went on pause, we went on suspension in March. There were 2 sites. That one of those sites we may not have access to. We likely will not have access to again. So we have one, but there are others. There are other places, and depends on the need and the desire. We have the site at Wrightwood, which we expect to be available. And I know that a lot of other organizations will not be able to come back from the pandemic. A lot of other outdoor science schools and informal education on environmental science, there's an estimate, a study was done, about 2/3 to 3/4 will not come back from this pandemic.
So there might be places then to increase your reach.
Right. And there may be more of a demand. So we may be able to expand and have more students coming to the program.
Well, you know, one of our last podcasts, we had Gary Whittison on with us, not to really talk about outdoor science, but to talk about learning in general. But you were the one who took his place when he retired. How did you end up getting into this position?
Well, I was hired, I worked with Gary at the outdoor school for most of my career. So I was hired to replace him when he retired just over a year ago, June 2019. I have a lot of experience in the field of outdoor education. As a lead teacher, I opened up 4 new sites and returned to 1 old site. With the Outdoor Science School, I helped open up a nonprofit as the first manager of that program for an outdoor school. I was also worked for another public program in Northern California, and for the National Audubon Society. I also, which I'm sure Gary liked, was I did my master's research on comparing student work on phenomena in the classroom versus student work in an ecosystem context, which I think gets to the heart of what field studies is all about in a natural environment.
What a crazy 60th year.
Well, you know, you top that off, but remember what happened right before that last year, where the fires down in Malibu, and it took out one of the outdoor science school sites, the Malibu Outdoor Science School site, which made you guys you were the principal of the site at that time, right, Shaun?
I was the lead teacher, and it's been a crazy couple years, pretty phenomenally upending.
Yeah, I don't want it to sound like it, I'm saying this facetiously or anything, but you've been through the fire here for the last couple of years, haven't you?
We're at fire, flood, and pandemic has been my personal experience of the last 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the 60th year is supposed to be a big celebration, but how do you celebrate 60 years kind of how we are right now?
She comes on our podcast.
Right.
That's
I come
right.
on the podcast. We did get to have a virtual celebration, which in fact was positive. It was wonderful. Sometimes there's great things that have come out of this pandemic. And one of them is that we had this 60th celebration, and there's just no way that all those former staff members would have been able to come to one spot. And so there were so many people that have been involved in the school over the last at least 30, 40 years. And it was wonderful to to have that virtual gathering together. So that was one positive thing that came out of it.
So what are the different sites you've had over the years? Like, I know you mentioned Wrightwood, and I know we talked a little bit about Malibu, which burned down last year. What other sites have there been?
Well, the first site I opened up was, it was near Jackson Lake. It was at a Hawthorne Youth Camp.
I remember that one.
Site.
I actually went to that, and I think I brought my daughter to it, or my daughter was a cabin leader. I don't know. How long ago was that?
Yeah, your daughter was there. I can't remember, but I met her.
She could have been a kid.
And after that, we went to a camp in Running Springs that was lovely, but privately owned. So we got the opportunity after that. We were given a site over further east in the San Bernardinos at Blue Sky Meadow, which was a lovely site, but too expensive. We ended up having to turn that back to the donors. It was pretty beautiful and really high. And then I started a nonprofit for another organization, being the first manager for them. And then down to Malibu. And then we went to Colby when that burned down. We went to Colby. So that's where I've been at all those different sites.
So, you know, in Palmdale School District, there's quite a few teachers who have an investment of time and investment of caring about outdoor science school for sure, and love organizing and bringing the kids to outdoor science school. But with that change when we went on pause, can you tell us and tell everybody who might be listening and who's interested in this, what does the program look like now? What do you think the near future might look like, or even down the road a little bit further?
Well, right now we're suspended. Operations are suspended. We're suspended in March. The sites are closed down due to online learning. And trying to predict the pandemic has been challenging for all of us. You know, like any school or business, for the outdoor school, it's been challenging. There are extra safety precautions that have to be in place for a residential program. There's a lot of, we need to make sure that in any time that there's not unsafe conditions for kids. So I know that our opening will be delayed a little. It'll be delayed past when schools open. We've got to know that it's safe and that schools have enough time to organize a trip. In May, we plan to open up in January, but you know, at this point, we're all going, remember back when we didn't touch our groceries, you know, and things like that. So I'm not going to say for sure when we will open up. When it looks like it's been safe for a while and schools can go on field trips again, we will be ready for opening. But knowing that schools may not be able to go on field trips, we may offer programs that go to the schools, to the school sites. We might be able to do something in a park nearby. We might be able to do day programs up here at the Wrightwood site, because day programs would be outside, would be safer. So those are the plans for the outdoor school that we're hoping for in the future.
We also talked the other day, because part of what you do as, what is your official title? Is it director of, or?
It's Project Director 3.
Project Director 3. And that also includes, and we had this conversation the other day about the Marine Science Floating Lab and a bunch of ideas that's available. A lot of people don't connect that to outdoor science.
Right. It is, I oversee both of those main parts of the Outdoor Marine Science Field Study Unit. So the Marine Science Floating Lab it's been going since 1975, taking students out on a boat in San Pedro Bay to study the marine ecosystem. We have a partner that we work with, the Think Earth Foundation and the Think Watershed division of Think Earth, and they help us. They help raise money. They help with the curriculum, and they have recently gotten a $10,000 grant from the Port of LA. And we are going to be able to use that money to film on the boat, to make some video clips and materials for teachers for distance learning. So we'll have a virtual field trip that would be free for teachers and students. So it's exciting. I think it will help more students because normally it's hard to participate to raise those kind of funds. Boats are expensive. And so this may be a great thing to have that resource available.
So I didn't tell Dan this, Shaun, but we were having the conversation about filming, and I said we should bring a drone, and you asked, do you know anybody who has a drone? And I started talking about this guy in our school district who flew the drone out there for the first time and thought he had it under control and wrecked it, and it has gone down into infamy. And I finally admitted it was me. And so Dan's like, I can watch Dan, right? He's sitting there laughing and shaking his head. So if we bring a drone on there, maybe we'll let Dan fly the drone on a boat, and let's see how good he really is.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
All right, I want to watch it.
Yeah, as it goes glug 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 down into the bay.
I think it'd be fantastic.
So we have all of our kids all stuck inside right now with Zooms and online learning and asynchronous, synchronous, you name all the OUS words. But bottom line is, why is outdoor education so important?
Well, outdoor education that is conducted in nature is essential for students to make connections in their learning that cannot happen inside. So, for example, if a student looks at a rock in a classroom, they could notice color and texture and shape. They could potentially identify it with a key or something like that. But looking at that same rock in a stream bed in nature, and you compare it to the other rocks that are there in that context, and you might see that rock has more rounded edges compared to the other rocks. And so you would know it's transported further and has been rounded. So that context tells you significant things about the phenomena there. There's endless possibilities of what students can observe and ask questions about and get information from the context. And there's also, of course, myriad benefits to being in nature, specifically that has been well studied. At Outdoor Science School, there's well-studied cognitive and mental health benefits of being in a natural setting for any age person. There's also, at an outdoor school, there's enhanced social emotional growth that happens. Kids are assigned to work as a team with their cabin cohorts with specific behavioral instructions and requirements to be part of a respectful community. That helps kids learn and grow in ways that they don't get in the classroom. There's also an awareness of that people need to spend time in nature. And right now it's safer in nature. That lack of access to nature we're becoming more aware of that equity issue that some people don't have access to that for a variety of reasons. So although it's safer outside, getting there in a school setting can potentially pose risks, say on a bus. So ironically, those are the issues we're facing.
It's interesting that you use the word equity, because I know when Steve and I sit in meetings and we hear equity, it's, lack of technology, lack of access, but the lack of access to outdoor activities with someone who can really lead a discussion in what Gary used to call, nature's classroom. I think that's a huge part that's lacking right now in the classrooms.
A lot of people don't have the means, nor maybe even the time to take their kids and take time out of what they're doing to actually get outside and explore and talk about what they see, breathe that fresh air. For me, I'd love to just put a hammock up between a couple trees up there in Wrightwood, Shaun, and bring a book for a day, and just have something different than staring at my screen 24/7. But so yeah, you talk about that equity. That is an issue. It's not just about books and technology. It's about the ability to go places.
Right. Those experiences are really important in what kids get to experience and fill in their background knowledge about things, and just for their physical and mental health too.
Kids need to know that the world's bigger than their living room or their bedroom, right?
Right.
They need to know that there's a whole lot out there just waiting for them, and they should be curious about it. But we're locked up, and teachers are teaching via Zoom and maybe doing some kind of model where part of the kids are in and part of the kids are out. How do teachers incorporate these outdoor science experiences in their classroom or a school setting then?
Well, online learning can still create some experiences for students, and teachers can engage in observing nature, even if those observations are solely based on what you could see out an apartment window. But engaging kids in real things, even in small ways, can make a difference. So, for example, that we put out some newsletters last spring, and one of them was on nature journaling and ways to engage kids in that format of even looking at the weather or birds or anything that they could potentially see.
How would teachers get hold of that?
We sent some out to teachers that had been to the outdoor science school, and they could email me, and I will send them a copy.
And the email is
Hawke, HAWKE _Shaun, SHAUN at LACO.edu.
There you go. So if you're interested in doing this, contact her. You will get the link. Go ahead, keep going.
When students are doing regular in-person school, teachers can also incorporate a thematic approach, art projects. I mean, that's one of the ways to integrate what kids are really seeing is with art, art projects, poetry, math problems. Having that unifying theme really helps and gets kids motivated and engaged. Also in real times, I should say real times, listen to me, back when we didn't have a pandemic.
In real good times.
Real good times, when they had that shared experience of coming to outdoor school, that shared experience where they all went on a night hike and they experienced all the, they had the folk dance together and did their skits in front of each other and campfire and all that unifying group shared experience. It could be a real wellspring of what teachers can use for weeks or months afterwards to help kids process, learn things about all topics, English language arts and all of them. But because there's genuinely very powerful memories created at outdoor science school that many people, even people that get this, Steve, older than I am, that still remember, like as old as Dan is maybe, that can remember an experience from way back then.
Well, just remember, we're the old ones. He aged us big time at the beginning of this.
For me, we always meet with teachers that struggle with the socioeconomic part of it, the social emotional, really more than anything. One of the selling points for us always was, you might see your kids grow up a little bit. I think now that growing up part is definitely going to be missing with this group of kids going forward.
Absolutely. I agree. And with the new emphasis on social emotional learning, I can see just so many ways that outdoor school helps students with that. And we need to formalize what we tell teachers that are included, because we do already help kids learn those skills.
Absolutely. You know, I know we could sit here and talk to Shaun for hours because we've done it before.
I just want to say this is that Shaun doesn't know that I've kept a secret for over the 30 years that I've known Shaun and her husband. And so you have to let RT know that I'm one of the few people that actually knows his real name. And I have not shared it once. I respect that man. I haven't shared it once.
Good for you.
Yeah. I have asked over the 16 years I've known Steve, and he will not tell me.
Oh, that's good. You know, Steve, I have so much more respect for you. Your moral fortitude is awesome.
I've got to work hard just to gain it all back sometimes. I don't know.
Hey, Shaun, thank you so much for taking your time out to come talk to some old friends and spending the time with us.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I have a deep fondness for the teachers in Palmdale and for you two guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we want to get out on the Marine Science Floating Lab. Let's go have a meeting so we can talk about how, you can do that virtual field trip. I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd love to be a consultant on that project.
Yes.
And teachers in Palmdale, we would just like to remind you guys that if you want to be a guest on the podcast, go to www.palmdalesd.org/edtech. Scroll around down there someplace. There's some words that say, would you like to be a guest on the podcast? Click on it, fill out the form, tell us what it is that you want to talk about, and we will get in contact with you and have you as a potential guest on the show.
Hey, teachers, go out, take a deep breath. When you need it, take a walk, come back, and attack. You guys can do this.
Yeah, remember, you're not alone. Be strong, be courageous, stay in the fight. It will be over someday.
Hey, thank you very much for listening. And again, thanks again to Shaun for joining us. And for all of you listening, don't forget to wash your hands. Great job.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Get outside. Right. You didn't mention vitamin D, Shaun.
That's
vitamin
right.
D.